Okay, guys, I'm going to show you a game today. It's played between Ernst Grünfeld and Alexander Alekhine. This is a match, and this game was played in 1923 in Karlsbad, and Grünfeld and Alekhine played 10 games. Five of them were drawn, four were in Alekhine's favor, and Grünfeld won one, which happened to be in the Grünfeld defense. But a little bit of information about Grünfeld. Grünfeld was an opening theoretician, and he was born in Vienna, Josefstadt, Vienna, and he was very poor from a young age, and he lost his leg due to poverty. He did in the 1914 and 1918. It was the First World War, so he didn't really have any opportunities to play any major tournaments, just because he was reduced to playing correspondence games. And he took up opening theory. And by the 1920s, he was considered to be a very knowledgeable opening expert. Now, Alekhine is no slowpoke once it comes to opening theory. He was considered to be a very strong a theoretician as well. So even with all of Grünfeld's knowledge, he couldn't gain an advantage in the opening against Alekhine. But let's show you the game. It's played in 1923 in Karlsbad, like I said before, and it opens with d4. We have knight to f6, c4, e6, knight to c3, and d5. This is the queen's gambit declined. We have bishop g5, bishop b7, knight to f3, knight b to d7, e3, castles, rook c1. Just getting his rook to soon to be an open file. We have c6, queen c2, a6, a3, h6, bishop h4, rook e8. Yeah, I'm not going to comment on any of the moves in the beginning because these are all by the book and they're both very strong theoreticians, like I said before. We have bishop d3, d takes c4, bishop takes c4, b5, bishop a2, c5, rook d1, c takes d4, knight takes d4, queen b6, bishop b1, which is a really strong move because now if this knight on f6 ever moves, then queen takes h7, or queen h7 will be checkmate. And this knight cannot move because the bishop taking f6 would be deadly. So Alekhine plays bishop b7. We have castles, rook a to c8, queen d2, getting the queen off that file. We have knight e5, queen takes bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, and queen c2. Since there's no longer a knight defending, he goes for the checkmate again. We have g6, queen e2, knight c4, bishop e4, offering trade of bishops, bishop g7, because Alekhine was threatening queen f3 to have a double attack on that bishop and the having an attack on the bishop on f6, so he moves it away. We have bishop takes b7, queen takes b7, rook c1, e5. He's getting an idea to kick away this strong knight. We have knight b3 and e4, which seems to be like a counterintuitive move because you're cutting off the queen's diagonal, but what's important is that you're awakening that bishop on g7. We have knight d4 and rook e to d8. We have rook f to d1, opposing his rook. We have knight e5 and knight a2. We have knight to d3, and we have rook takes c8, queen takes c8, and f3. Grünfeld would really like to exchange that pawn on the e4 square because he really wants to kick away that knight because it's very strong. But Alekhine doesn't allow that. He takes on the d4 with the rook. Now, in this position, Grünfeld takes the pawn. He doesn't take the rook. But let's see what happens if he takes the rook. Then you would get bishop takes d4 check, king f1. If it goes h1, then knight f2 would be deadly. We have knight f4 attacking the queen. And the only move that he has is to attack Aлекhine's queen. Then queen simply takes. We have knight takes. And then knight takes c1. And then knight takes e2. And then bishop takes b2. Going to be scooping up this pawn as well. So that's just a completely winning position for black. So he takes the pawn. And then he's attacking the knight and the rook. But Alekhine goes knight f4, attacking the queen, basically forcing him to take the knight. We have e takes f4, queen c4. This is a killer move because now he's still threatening to take the rook on d1. He's attacking the undefended queen, and if he simply does anything other than trade queens, then Alekhine can just take the knight on the a2 square. So we have queen takes c4, and then Alekhine has this rook takes d1 check. So the only move that he really has is to play queen f1, and then Alekhine finishes the game with his famous bishop check. Bishop d4 check. Now the only move that he has is to move away, and then that's checkmate. But he ended it on here. Grünfeld resigned. It's a beautiful game. It just goes to show that Alekhine was an executioner, and he was very, very strong. And I hope you guys enjoyed the game, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.